This right here is a dual stand triple display docking station from Pulwtop with its product code BD242A that utilizes silicon motion drivers to create virtual displays for Windows or Mac that doesn't necessarily support more than one display. Now, from my previous video on the 18-in-1 triple monitor display link docking station from Pulwtop, the concept is rather similar. The secret to display more than one external display simply lies with some software drivers in this product, which is Silicon Motion, which we'll talk about it in just a second. Now, if you would like to know more about Display Link, be sure to check out that video, which I will link in the card above as well as in the description box down below. In this video, we'll go through everything there is to know about this dual stand triple display docking station that allows base model Apple Silicon MacBooks like the M1, M2, M3 and M4 to display up to a total of 3 4K 60Hz displays either through HDMI or DisplayPort. The dock also comes with two 10GB per second USB-C ports with a SD and micro SD card slot, a 45W USB-C power delivery port, 5GB per second USB Type-A port, 3.5mm audio and mic jack, and an Ethernet jack, all unified with a single USB-C to USB-C cable with a built-in Type-A port for Windows machine that does not have a USB-C port like this tiny Windows machine that I have right here. Now, before we begin, as always, disclaimers first, this is not a sponsored video. However, Pulwtop did send over this pre-release unit for a first impression and product showcase for their upcoming Kickstarter program, which I will talk more about it in the later section of the video. Again, there is no money exchange at hand and everything I say is of my own opinion. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. Now, before we begin, let's talk about the software side of things, which is what makes extending beyond one display possible. Essentially, Silicon Motion or Display Link is a piece of software codec technology that compresses and transmits graphics with minimal delay over USB connection. While the USB's bandwidth might seem insufficient for multiple high-resolution displays, both Silicon Motion and Display Link uses your computer's CPU and GPU power to compress images in real time, which enables high-quality, responsive display outputs even through USB's limited bandwidth. From what I gathered online, it does seem like Display Link software is far more superior in compared to Silicon Motion, as Display Link adapters offers a smoother experience for users who require higher resolution displays. But on the other hand, Silicon Motion adapters are often more cost-effective and more suited for less graphic-intensive applications. Now, let's finally take a look at what comes inside the box and go through all the features this docking station has to offer. Here we have a standard Pulwtop packaging with everything you need to know, from the product name and code to some features written all around. As it writes, USB-C stand docking station with triple monitor right here. Taking a look inside, we get this sleek black packaging, which I really like, coming from the Thunderbolt 4 docking station I reviewed a while back, and I'm glad they decided to go back to this style of packaging. Now, inside you get a user manual, a box of accessories that includes a USB-C to USB-C cable with a built-in Type-A connector, which I think is for Windows machine that does not support USB-C connection. It also comes with a DC charging brick that outputs a maximum of 72 watts. And here is the main unit itself, and that's basically everything that came inside the box. Now, a quick overview of this triple display docking station. We have a dual laptop stand slot at the front of the device. The build is made from aluminum all around. The dimensions of this dock sits at around 175mm in length, 135mm in width, and about 180mm in height, and it weighs in at around 565 grams. Now, in comparison to the Thunderbolt 4 docking station side by side, the size is not that big of a difference. As you can see, in fact, it is even smaller, except for the dual stand slots at the front. Now, let's take a closer look at all the ports all around and talk about the specs this docking station has to offer. Looking to the right hand side, we have 4 USB-C ports right here, 2 in which are USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 ports that offers 10GB per second transfer speeds, but only this one is able to support 7.5 watts output power, as the other port does only data transfer. These other USB-C ports above are just power delivery USB-C ports, so they do not support any data transfer capabilities. Do take note that the maximum output power is rated at 45 watts only when using a single USB-C port. If both ports are utilized at the same time, then the output power can only support up to 22 watts each, so do keep that in mind. Taking a look at the back, we have a bunch of ports right here, but let's quickly go through all of these ports one by one. Starting from the top left corner, we have the DC in port that takes in 72 watts from the charger that came included in the box. And to the right is a 1 gigabit Ethernet port, and we also have two 5 gigabits per second USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports and a SD and micro SD card slot right here. Do take note of the orientation while inserting the cards, as SD card going into the slot faces upward while micro SD card faces downwards like such. Right beside it, we have a 3.5mm audio and mic jack, and all the way to the right is a USB 2.0 Type A port, typically for your mouse or keyboard peripherals. Now towards the bottom row are all of the ports to be connected to your monitor. There is a total of 5 ports, 2 in which are DisplayPort 1.2, where the maximum supported resolution is at 4K 60Hz. And towards the left hand side are 3 HDMI 2.0 ports that also supports a maximum resolution at 4K 60Hz. It is also worth pointing out that you can only utilize up to 3 ports of your choice, either 2 HDMI ports with a single DisplayPort, or 2 DisplayPort with 1 HDMI, or having all 3 HDMI ports. The next port to the left is another USB-C port that is labeled PD in, which takes in a maximum of 100 watts, used for charging your device. All the way to the left is the final USB Type-C to host that binds all of the ports functionality into this single cable to be connected to your laptop right here. And that's basically all the ports and features this triple monitor docking station has to offer. Now, as mentioned earlier, Silicon Motion is a piece of software that is required to be installed on your machine in order to virtually drive additional displays. So before we begin testing this out, let's get this sorted. You can either head over to Silicon Motion's website and search for SM77X drivers, or you can for once open up the user manual and scan the QR code for the installation website, and I will also leave them in the description box down below. Now, depending on the operating system that you are running, I am running Mac OS, so I'll be downloading this link right here. Once completed, you can launch the file and install whatever that is necessary. Now on Mac OS, simply drag the Mac OS instant view into the application folder like such, and that's it. Open up the Finder window with Command and space and type in Mac OS instant view. And as you launch it, it will prompt you to open this app. Shortly after, an auto update dialog will appear. You can hit yes or no. What's next is very important, that you allow Mac OS instant view to record your computer screen and audio, where you can toggle on this permission in order for Silicon Motion drivers to work. Then another prompt will require you to quit and reopen Mac OS instant view. You do that, then you are pretty much good to go. There's also a prompt indicating that the USB display device is not connected. If you have yet to connect it, it is perfectly normal. Now let's talk about setting this up for the very first time. Since the package does not come included with HDMI or DisplayPort cables, do make sure you have decided your monitor of choice and have cables that support up to 4K 60Hz. So I'll be using all 3 HDMI ports, with the first HDMI port connected to my Innocent 27C1UD 4K monitor. The second HDMI is connected to my ultra-wide LG 29WK600 monitor, and the last HDMI connected to the 6-inch 4K Field World camera monitor just for this product showcasing. I'll also be supplying 100 watts charge via USB-C into the USB-C PD in port for being able to charge my laptop at the same time. Now, if you have already inserted the DC jack into the dock, as you connect your monitors to the docking station, you will notice the Silicon Motion logo appearing on screen for a couple of seconds like such. Now, for the triple display demo, this is all that I'll be inserting. You may go ahead and insert any other peripherals you plan to use, like a keyboard and mouse, a 10 gigabits per second SSD enclosure, webcam, audio cables, Ethernet, SD or micro SD cards of your choice. Now, the final cable to insert is this USB-C to host port right here, that I'll be connecting it to my M1 MacBook Air, and wait for a couple of seconds, and we have 3 extended display, and the laptop is also being charged, as you can see right here. Now, the latency on these virtual displays are not too bad. Depending on the screen's content at the time, the more graphic intensive changes demands for higher CPU and GPU workload, so gaming on these virtual graphics is not ideal, as the gameplay is quite choppy, as you can see right here. Having a full screen YouTube video playing on one monitor though feels about alright. What's ideal if you are doing some productivity work with an Excel sheet open with some Chrome tabs as a reference, especially on the M1 MacBook Air, is more than sufficient. Now, there are a couple of things that I've tested on the ports available on this docking station. First up is the 10 Gbps USB-C port connected to my T7 Samsung SSD. And with Blackmagic's this speed test, I'm getting at around 800 to 900 megabytes per second write, and the same for the read speeds. The SD and micro SD card are also getting rated read and write speeds at around 100 megabytes per second as advertised. 45 watts charging via a single USB-C cable was also confirmed as I connected this to my 100 watts Bolus X100 Lite, and the power delivery was kept at 45 watts indicated on the device as well as on my USB-C checker. I also tested the Ethernet port, the audio and mic jack, and the 5 Gbps per second USB Type-A port, and overall there is no particular issue. So here are some of my thoughts and impression of the triple display docking station after using this about a week. And I have to say, the very feature of the triple display by just using a piece of software, in our case Silicon Motion, is quite impressive. You get a sort of revive old laptops or Windows machine to drive multiple displays and get a vast amount of ports. You also get a slot to actually dock your laptop and keeping it tucked to the side. However, there were a couple of things that I didn't really like about this particular dock. There is no indication on the device to indicate if the device is power on or off. The dual slot at the front makes the overall footprint bigger. Wanting to hide this dock under a shelf or under the desk becomes impossible as well. But with all of that said, overall for office use and general productivity users, being able to have more screen real estate as well as having a USB-C hub for other peripheral devices is truly a blessing, especially with Apple Silicon's MacBook Airs that limits users with only 1 or 2 displays. For office work, sacrificing some CPU power for a couple of more displays, I think it is justifiable. However, for home entertainment or power users, you might want to reconsider, as these virtual displays are never ideal, and my experience testing it verifies it. There were choppy frames when I move around. Highly not recommending people picking this up for gaming. Again, office and productivity work is more suited with DisplayLink or Silicon Motion drivers technology. That being said, this triple display docking station, the BD242A, is actually now live on Kickstarter. If you are interested, be sure to head on over to the Kickstarter page for more details about it. I'll leave a link to the page in the description box down below. This unit is currently being priced at $240 US. I believe there should be some early bird discounts, so do consider grabbing them while they last. Pulwtop have been quite a solid brand in terms of their products like docking stations, KVM switches, USB hubs, and they even have a Thunderbolt 4 docking station that I use every single day here in my YouTube studio. Be sure to also check out Pulwtop's website, which is also linked down below. A huge shout out to Pulwtop for sending over this pre-release unit for some testing. And that's basically it for this video. I hope you have found this video insightful. If you have any questions or things that you want me to test out, feel free to leave me a comment down below. I'll be sure to get back to you guys as soon as possible. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Ken and I'll catch you all in the next one. Stay safe, peace out, and bye-bye. And by the way, if you are wondering why are we back in the old YouTube studio, for those OG fans that have been following the channel since the beginning, you guys are awesome. I should be working on that video right now, so do stay tuned and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.